Okay, fourthly, we're now looking at building trust with information and offers. And this is completely different from anything we've talked about so far. Social media is instant. So there are two really obvious uses for salespeople. So one is to make time-bound offers via social media. The idea being that people will get used to checking your updates regularly to get the best offers or the best, most up-to-date stuff, and they know that if they go to your profile, they'll get something that they wouldn't get if they weren't linked in or connected or following you in some way. And the second thing is around giving service messages and tips regularly. Whether that's deliveries are running 2 minutes behind or the server outage is fixed, but you're building trust because you're constantly communicating with people. Now, I know some of that is a customer service issue, but as a salesperson, there will be some things that you can tweet and blog that will help people that you interact with, and only you will know what those great ideas are. But the really good thing is that you can make this information and these offers very personal, and you can make yourself very visible. So let's see what this might look like in practice. If what you sell is price sensitive or it's B2C and it's much more about discounts and vouchers, then you could plug, for example, a specific discount. So say 50% discount on time this afternoon for all internet orders made between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Brilliant. Now that sounds a bit tacky, potentially, but eBay have built a whole business model on this price-time continuum. And I'm certain that you can find a way to make this not tacky and not devalue your sale. It might not necessarily be a discount, it might be a limited edition of a particular product. That's for you to have a creative brainstorm. The point is, people to come to your profile as a salesperson because they know they'll get something special from you. If what you sell is not particularly price sensitive, or it's much more big ticket, or it's high-end consultancy, professional services, this can still work for you, but you might promote something different. So you might say, I've got 2 tickets to the Accenture seminar on capital markets growth on Friday. First 2 people to contact me can come. Or you might say, our business psychology expert has a spare seat at the roundtable he's holding on the 14th of May, public versus private sector. The point is, you're the person in the know, you're the person who knows what interesting time-bound things your potential clients could be interested in. And then if we look in practice around service updates and information, again, if you're price sensitive or it's B2C, you can talk about deliveries, you can talk about upgrades. If you're much more high-end or big ticket or service-focused, it could be around how today's budget will affect capital markets firms, for example, or the tsunami impact on the dollar, my prediction. These don't need to be long blog posts, but they could be something very quick and instant. So whatever's happened in the news in your industry, people will go to your LinkedIn profile because they know you'll comment on it instantly. And finally, we're going to cover what not to do. This is our 5th area. We've all seen that blatant social networker. We know not to sell directly, but there is quite a lot of thinly veiled selling which can do a lot of brand damage. And as salespeople, it's really important that we avoid that. So here's what not to tweet. This is a bit long for Twitter, but you get the idea. This is what I would not tweet, and it's a bit of an extreme example, but you kind of get the idea. So what an excellent question, Percy. Something I've come across all the time as a social media expert, I think, and on goes my opinion. By the way, you might like to read my book or visit my blog, and I'd gladly spare half an hour of my time to tell you how clever I am, or something similar like that. Now, I know none of you would do anything quite that extreme, but what I hope is that you recognise that slightly patronising tone and that, you know, thinly veiled insertion of a sales tactic, which, and all it does is it totally negates any advice that I might give somebody, because what it says is the only reason I gave it is because it's an opportunity to say, by the way, you might want to buy my book. Notice I haven't taken the opportunity today via this piece of social media to plug my book. Not the right it's not the right place, and I trust that if it's something that's relevant to you, you will find it and you'll know about it. Social media is all about tone. So salespeople need to understand the rules of the game. So if you are a salesperson, here's a kind of refresh of stuff that's probably fairly intuitive but is worth having a think about. And if you manage salespeople, this is something to coach and develop in your sales team. Now, all of these things feel pretty obvious, and I don't think any of us would consider ourselves to be pedants or patronising, and yet, as you browse around social networks and so on, and Twitter, you see this all the time. So clearly people are doing it, and I wonder if we can all take extra care by looking at these yeses and nos and thinking really carefully about the tone of what we send out. It's a little bit like email. Tone, how you send something, the tone of something as you send it in these very short fragments of online content can be received very differently. So my yes, yes, yes is to abundance, the sense that I don't need to sell you anything because I'm the expert, and I trust that there's plenty of business for me in the whole world, and I know that you will come to me if I'm the right option for you. So the opposite of abundance is desperate, if that makes sense. So abundance is a really great quality to have as a salesperson, and you can give off and exude that tone through social media. Energy neutral communication, which is about not loading something either as a strong sales message nor as something with particularly positive or negative heat in it. It's sharing stuff because you trust that it's relevant to people and that they will pick it out if they. So you're not trying to persuade people to read your content or to like your opinion. It's all energy neutral. I like the principle of yes and. So at the heart of something like LinkedIn, apart from the connection side, is the discussion. And what that means is one person gives an opinion, the other person gives the opposite opinion. We talk in the no to section about not being the know-all and not being provocative. So a really good rule of thumb is as you contribute to discussions, or if you share an opinion, is to positively reinforce a previous opinion or the bit of it that you value, and then add to it, rather than critiquing or contradicting other people. For some reason, social media is just a really rubbish place to be critical of other people's posts. There's no opportunity to rebuild that relationship. So it's a yes and using that positive reinforcement. Now there are a few obvious no-tos, so sycophanticism, which is obviously liking everything that a prospect says, doing too much positive reinforcement, too much yes and, or the alternative, which is being the know-all, being a pedant, picking up on other people's typos. I can't imagine any of us in this room would think that was a good idea to do, and yet somehow we can get caught into these. So as a manager of sales people, being really clear about what is and isn't acceptable. Patronising we talked about, but the real danger that's going to catch us all out is platitudes, where we talk about things that people already know, and what we do there is we say, I'm not an expert, actually I know a little bit less than you do. So I would rather that salespeople said something a bit controversial and slightly ruffled a few feathers, or said something that wasn't completely accurate but was interesting, than just spouted platitudes, so shared very basic articles or stated the obvious, because all that does is it drops you from expert to somebody that knows even less than the person at the other end of the internet. So that's our 5 things. If you do just one thing, if you manage salespeople, make your social media strategy really clear and empower your sales team to have a credible online opinion and to be the expert. So don't make them sit behind a corporate profile. Let them be the individual expert. Give them a personality and a voice and visibility. If you are in a direct sales role and you can do one thing, then set up your own semi-automated system for being the expert in 10 minutes a day, which is joining the right groups, being visible in the right places, having a way of automating the flagging of interesting internet content which you think will build your own profile and reinforcing your personality, and then automating the way that you share that out. That's the simplest way to be visible and build your own personal reputation. Now in a moment I'm going to ask you to pose any questions which you think are really relevant that you would like me to answer with the group as a whole. So I'm going to give you a bit of advance warning on that before I go to my final slide. And whenever you're ready, if you pop your questions into the questions box, and I will pick 3 or 4 and we'll answer them. So go ahead and do that as soon as you're ready.